Hello everyone. Today I want to share my incredible story. A powerful supernatural experience where I believe Jesus showed me what's to come. I left my body and was taken to heaven, hell, and God's throne, where I witnessed unbelievable things about the future. So, what did Jesus show me and what does it mean for us today? Let's dive into it. First, I'd like to tell you about my life before these events. From a young age, I've had many different experiences with God. The first time was when I was 3 years old. I was at my grandmother's house, the only place in my family where there were Christians. That house was said to be haunted with things like doors opening on their own, dead rats appearing under pillows, or objects being thrown around. So I always knew the supernatural was real. I often found myself leaving my body while sleeping. Now I know it's like astral projection, though I couldn't control it. Even my kids now say they've had similar experiences, seeing their bodies while asleep, something I don't wish for them at all. The first time I met Jesus was when I was wandering around my grandmother's house out of my body. I looked at a picture of Jesus on the wall, and suddenly, he stepped out of it like it was a door. Everything around me turned into an ancient house made of clay, with a fireplace and wooden shelves. Jesus looked at me with a warm smile that made me feel safe and loved, something crucial for me back then, as I often feared being kidnapped or didn't know who to trust. He asked me what I wanted, and I, a 3-year-old, just asked for an oatmeal raisin cookie. He took one from a clay jar on the shelf and gave it to me. As I nearly finished it, he patted my head and then everything went back to normal. I woke up in my body the next morning. The next time was when I was 8. After watching Ninja Turtles and The Karate Kid, I decided to try a jump kick off a big snowbank during the blizzard of '93. I had asthma and wasn't allowed outside in the cold, but I lied to go play without a coat. While jumping, I kicked too hard, fell onto a chunk of ice and became paralyzed from the neck down. They put me on a stretcher. I couldn't move my arms or legs, only feeling them taping my head down. At the hospital, the doctor ran a spiked wheel under my foot to test me, but I felt nothing. Then I saw an angel. I believe it was my guardian angel, looking like a woman with long brown hair, smiling and waving at me before disappearing. Called her the Cloud Lady and asked my mom if she saw her, but she said no. Later she told me she did see her, but in pink, though I'm not entirely sure about that. Suddenly I heard a voice like thunder, booming as if the sky were being torn apart, saying, "Lift your leg." It wasn't Jesus's voice or the Holy Spirit's. I think it was God's or an angel's. I tried with all my might but couldn't move. I shouted, "I can't do it." My mom said, "You can't because you're paralyzed." I wondered why that voice told me to do something impossible. Despair overwhelmed me. I realized I might never walk or scratch an itch again. But then the voice returned, this time with authority. "Lift your leg now." Startled, I shot up, swung my legs over the bed, and noticed they'd cut my pants off, revealing my Dr. Mario underwear. That convinced me God and the supernatural were real. Yet by 16, I stopped caring about God. All I wanted was to party, date, and play sports. One day at a bus stop in Utica, New York, a stranger asked me, "Are you going to heaven?" I said, "Probably, because I'm a good person." He said that wasn't enough, listing sins like lying, cheating, and stealing, things I'd all done. He told me only Jesus could get me to heaven and asked if I wanted to accept him. I agreed, said the prayer, but didn't fully grasp its meaning. I went back to my grandma's and told her, but no one guided me afterward. I kept falling into drugs, alcohol, got married at 18 or 19, then divorced, leading to the darkest phase of my life. I reconnected with old high school friends, got hooked, on drugs, and even dabbled in witchcraft, partying with Satanists. I stopped caring about anyone but myself, living selfishly and full of hate. Once, when I was 12, someone told me we had nothing in common except girls and drugs, which deeply impacted me and pushed me further down the wrong path. One day, I hit rock bottom, depressed and suicidal. I screamed at God, blaming Him for everything, while drunk. Suddenly, my TV turned onto TBN despite a terrible signal. Pastor Joseph Prince spoke about backslidden Christians as if talking straight to me. He led the sinner's prayer and I sobbed, begging Jesus to forgive me and save me from drugs, alcohol, and my chaotic life. Right after, my only Christian friend called, saying he'd been praying and felt God telling him I needed a place to stay. He invited me to live with his family, to find a job and go to church. Amazingly, he was already at my door before I even prayed. God answered before I asked. I stuffed clothes into a backpack and got in his car, never looking back. I quit drugs, cut off my 18-inch mohawk, broke up with my witch girlfriend, and stopped partying with Satanist friends. One friend asked, "Why worship your God if we live the same way?" That question hit me hard and sparked my resolve to change. I got radically saved, ditched porn after realizing it was fornication in the Bible, and started living for God. My first experience with heaven was around 2014. I woke up in a lush, vibrant field of grass with a colorful breeze. I saw Jesus, Peter, and his pregnant wife Miriam. Jesus looked at me with loving eyes, handed me an hourglass with just a few grains left, and said, "I'll return in 8 books." I knew his time was near. In 2022, I was taken to God's throne in a fiery whirlwind. I saw Jesus in glory, his eyes red like fire, pronouncing judgment. The Holy Spirit explained that when Donald Trump returns to power, Jesus will judge corruption in the government and the church, separating wheat from weeds. Jesus told me, "Tell the church I'm coming soon. My sword is coming down." Recently, in February 2025, I saw hell in 3 consecutive dreams. I witnessed giant demons relentlessly torturing people, tearing bodies apart, regenerating them, and repeating. A man named Jerry was brutally tormented. A woman was dragged from a fiery pit to be raped and shredded. I saw Saddam Hussein tortured by reliving his victim's pain as he chased her. Hell was full of despair, pressure, and unimaginable fear. Those images haunted me. I couldn't sleep or eat. But then Jesus came in a dream, hugged me, and apologized for scaring me. His love healed my heart. To anyone on the fence, I say choose Jesus. Hell is real and He loves you unconditionally. Don't gamble with your fate.